Hello, I'm Bill Bullard with R-CALF USA, the voice of the independent cattle producer in the United States of America. Well, this message is for all the people who eat protein and for all the ranchers who raise cattle. Now, never before in history has America's food system failed America like it did last year. The food system failed American consumers who went to their grocery stores and could not buy the meat, the protein they needed for their families. And when America's consumers could not purchase the best protein source of all, beef from USA cattle, they thought the nation's largest segment of food production, the United States live cattle industry, had failed them. But what America's consumers didn't know, and what the beef packing cartel didn't want them to know, is that America's ranchers had cattle ready to be processed, but the beef packing cartel wouldn't buy them. So this caused an artificial beef shortage at your grocery store, and a collapse in prices paid to ranchers, making their ranching operations unprofitable and threatening their livelihoods. And that intolerable situation that first became strikingly evident last year is even worse today. Consumers on one end of the supply chain and ranchers on the other are being exploited. They're being taken advantage of. Consumers right now are being forced to pay historically high prices for their beef, while cattle producers are struggling just to get a bid for their cattle. And even when they do, the bid is too low to cover their costs. This cannot continue. If it does, consumers who want beef for their families will be lucky to get it, and America's ranching industry will never again look like what it is today. And that's why this United States Ranch Group, R-CALF USA, is reaching out to United States consumers and asking for their help. We need you, the United States consumer, to help us fix this food crisis, which no one before us has been willing or able to do. America's ranchers are angry that American consumers are being milked by our failed food system. We're as angry about that as we are that many ranchers are being forced out of business. But we propose to turn this anger into decisive and meaningful action. Action to finally and permanently put an end to America's food crisis. And here's the good news. There are United States senators and representatives who are willing and able to help. Republican Senator Mike Rounds from South Dakota and Democratic Senator Tina Smith from Minnesota drafted a letter that they are asking their congressional colleagues to join. They've already put in motion the first three most important action steps needed to solve any problem, including a problem as big as this food crisis. The first and most important step was to clearly and accurately define the scope of the problem. Senators Rounds and Smith did this in their bipartisan and bicameral letter addressed to our United States Attorney General. The second step was to clearly explain that this is not an isolated problem, such as one that impacts only some industry segments or some people. No, the Rounds-Smith letter clearly explains that this is a food crisis and it impacts both consumers and ranchers. And the third step Rounds and Smith has taken was to declare their willingness to fight for a swift and meaningful solution, and that they wanted all of their colleagues in Congress to help them. So this is real, and we, both consumers and ranchers, have been called to action to help get as many members of Congress in both the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate to join the Rounds-Smith letter and be part of the resounding proclamation calling on both Congress and the Attorney General to work together to immediately fix this food crisis. So this is our first real opportunity to work with our consumer friends to make a huge difference for America. We set a goal last week to get 200 members of Congress onto the Rounds and Smith letter in 10 days. We only have a few days left before the letter will be mailed. So please, consumers and ranchers, let's get this done together. For consumers, please contact your senators and your representative to urge them to sign the Rounds-Smith letter. You likely have access to senators and representatives that are different than what ranchers have, so your contacts are vitally important. And for ranchers, please follow up with each of your senators and representatives until you receive their commitment to join the letter. And in your follow-up, tell them you're counting on them, as is all of America. Please go to our website at r-calfusa.com to get more information. And please make your calls and send your emails right away. We only have a few days left. So thank you, America's consumers and America's ranchers.